everyone. My name's Anton. I've been executive producer at Ochre Moving Pictures for 4 years. My job is entertainment formats. Before that, I worked quite some time at Endemol, so on their big formats like Survivor, Deal or No Deal. So reality somehow landed up being my bag. And I just wanted to say at the beginning, we've chosen reality because not everybody ends up doing drama and documentary, right? So, and I think as filmmakers, as potential filmmakers, we need to manage our expectations about what jobs we're going to get in the industry. So also there's a provocative theme this year. It's called Through the Back Door, which is open to interpretation. What can I say about reality? Well, I thought I'd start by asking who's made a film before? And who has, okay, so let's take it right down. Who likes photography? Right, okay. Who's made music or any kind of, okay, all right. Okay, so I just need to know that because I'm not so sure how to pitch this. So I'm going to be quite basic then as we go through this. Right. So, who knows what reality is? I need some definitions, please.
For me, reality, my understanding of reality is just an agreement between people. What they think is real for them is real for them.
Interactions between people?
It's an agreement.
Right.
Between people.
Okay, agreement between people. Anything else?
Yes, most body videos that we see on TV are usually scripted. And reality, basically, most percentage of reality TV is not scripted.
Right, unscripted. Okay, good. So, because I like Wikipedia and I like definitions, I thought let's start with the dictionary. So in philosophy, reality is the state of things as they actually exist. Right? We've already had somebody question that. Is anything real? Rather than as they appear or might be imagined. Okay. Reality is often contrasted with what is imaginary, delusional, only in the mind, dreams, abstract, false, fictional. Okay, so that gives us a sort of philosophical understanding of the word. But now let's turn to what Wikipedia says about reality TV. And that confirms that in a way. It's a genre of television that presents purportedly unscripted, dramatic or humorous situations, documents actual events, and usually features ordinary people instead of professional actors. And then a rider, sometimes in a contest or in a situation where a prize is awarded. Okay, so you're starting to see some similarities. I've highlighted unscripted drama, document, and ordinary people because those are the things that are going to constantly recur throughout this morning and are the real building blocks of reality. But hold those thoughts, especially I love the one about it not being real. Okay, so just briefly, quickly, I wanted to take us back to before reality TV. Does anybody know when reality TV kicked in? Viva, champing at the bit.
Was it MTV's Real World that sort of kicked off that
Right.
beginning of
Yeah.
what we've come to know?
Good call, MTV, Real World, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Right, good. Do you know when that was? Before most of you were thinking about TV, yeah. At the back. I can't hear you. Early 2000s, right? Okay, good. Because Wikipedia is my source of information for everything, I can happily tell you they give a lovely list in their reality television explanation. And yes, you're all right. It's around the late 90s. Actually, the seeds of it started already in the 80s. We've got stuff going on in sort of 1989, 1991. Number 28 in Holland was like a precursor to Big Brother. A whole lot of people stuck in a house, big social experiment, see what happens, drama. And then we go on to something like Expedition Robinson, Charlie Parsons, that's in 1997, and that's the precursor to Survivor. And then 1996, they tell us, is the one that really precurses everything. It's called Changing Rooms, with couples redecorating each other's houses, God forbid. So, you know, I think there's this tendency to want to understand it, but actually it's always been around. And I wanted to just show you what was happening before reality TV so that we can get sort of like a perspective on it, right? So most of you will know drama and documentary. That's what everybody talks about all the time. I'm going to be a filmmaker. Oh, what you going to do? I'm going to do documentary. Oh, cool. That means you're part of that crowd. Oh, I'm going to do drama. Oh, that means you're part of that crowd, right? One is scripted, one is not. They sort of, one's a sort of newsy thing, and the other's a sort of drama thing. I mean, that's basically what people think, right? So I've tried to make the bottom half dark and the other one light, because I think there's sort of, they're poles in a way because of that reason, one being scripted and another not being. So news obviously is a bit like documentary because it's like a whole lot of people telling you stuff about the world. Loosely related, I think, is chat and magazine show formats, right? People sitting down talking about the world. Then you've got sport, which is a whole lot of people sitting down and running around very excited about the world. And then you've got music and variety. So the MTV example is a good case in point, because that's the origin of a lot of like pick up the camera and shoot people singing stuff. And variety, that hideous old clunky German thing with a whole lot of people going rah, 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 right? The precursor to game show. They're still around, by the way, all these things. Kids and comedy. You know, comedy is a specific genre. It's drama, but it's funny. And kids stuff, which is like, well, cartoons mainly in the old days. And then soap, which has always been there. But I put it in last because it is something we always tend to forget. You know, it's been around since the 40s and 50s. So that's the landscape before reality TV. And then reality TV comes along, and it sort of combines everything. And I want you to hold this thought, because it is a combination of both documentary and drama. We're going to come back to it. But I think the most important thing to understand, if you want to understand reality at its core, is that it comes about at the same time as this wonderful thing that you all can't do without the internet. Okay, and if you ask yourself, what is the internet about? You'll start to get a handle for what reality is about. The internet is about what? Come, guys, tell me. Right? Right, so it's about instant communication, instant gratification, instant connection, but it's more importantly, it's about real people telling their own stories to other real people. Yeah? Right. So, let's try and understand why it works. So, there's this guy, Jeff King, who wrote this brilliant book called The Spectacle of the Real. He kind of looked at, what's it called, when the Twin Towers fell? 9/11, thank you. And he looked at that as a sort of like spectacle of the real. You know, suddenly all of us were confronted with this hideous act, which really dented our confidence, I think, in the world. And it's somehow interesting that that happens right at the start of the real push of reality TV. That spectacle, you know, that we were confronted with really puts us into a situation where we appreciate the vulnerability and the sensitivity of the world through the eyes of the people experiencing it. So he said, even though subjects are in a stage setting, in a set-up situation with a conceived outcome, they still have feelings that make their participation in the show real to them. And his example was The Bachelor. And I think this is very important when you think about reality and how it's experienced for you as filmmakers and the people watching it. His theory is that the simulated setting stimulates feeling, in part because the removal of the participants from their normal surroundings strips them to nothing but the space and the effect of social interaction. Right? They've been removed, they've been asked to do something, and they experience it. This intimacy that arises out of the amplified situation is real for the participants and for the viewers. Love, like television, must be performed to be real. Right? Do you get that? The performance of love will generate the effects of love, just as the performance of the reality will generate reality effects. So this is the complex area that we are in. Right? Realness, the generation of realness. And this is my funny comment. People getting a kick out of seeing themselves being baked. So let's take a look at why it works. Again, this is a lovely quote from Michael Herschel, the VH1 Executive Vice President. He says the plots and subject matters in reality TV are more authentic and more engaging than scripted drama. I mean, ironically now at the moment in the world there is this resurgence of drama, and it might be a reaction to reality. You know, it's too early to tell. But he says scripted network television remains dominated by variants of the police procedural, right? That old drama where the police have got a crime to solve, they get all of the people involved, there's a resolution and everyone's happy, and the world is or isn't the way it was before. And he says it's a stock group of characters, important phrase to remember, ethnically, sexually, generationally diverse, and they grapple with endless versions of the same dilemma. So a bit like Japanese no theatre, which is really stock characters going through the same story every time. While reality TV is the liveliest genre on the set right now, it has engaged a hot button of cultural issues, class, sex, race, that respectable television rarely touches. Okay, and that we know from the proliferation of reality TV that's around. So really giving you a good sense of an idea that this is a substitute for scripted drama. Okay, and that's the basis which we are approaching our work today, and everyone else will be dealing with it. So let's look at those components. You saw before I was suggesting that reality combines documentary and drama. Well, let's try and see what's similar in the two. And this is a very brief overview. I mean, there's a hell of a lot one can talk about, but I just wanted to tease out the most important things in my mind. So there's a situation, both in drama and in reality you've got a situation. You've got locations, you've got scenes, you've got a mood that you're trying to create, whether that's with music, lighting, camera setup, framing, whatever that is. And you've got them doing stuff with things, props. You've got a plot, well hopefully you do. And that is determined largely by stuff. You know, you've got a goal that these people have. It's the same in drama. You know, I want that girl, I want that job, I am interested in eating that humble pie. You've got interventions, right? Things that are given to people to do. You've got impediments, hurdles, things in the way that stop them doing those things. And of course you've got characters, the big thing you can't do without in reality. And they come with a whole whack of things. They've got assets and flaws in their character. They're always motivated by something. I want, I need, I think I want. They've got backstories and histories, right, which the viewers find out as you go along. They form relationships, and they are constantly grappling with their emotions. So my big message to you this morning is, besides taking you through the genres, is you've really got to think like you're making a drama, guys. Good filmmakers are good filmmakers because they understand telling good stories. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing reality or drama. You've got to tell a good story, and people need to experience it in the same way as they do a drama. So the things you're probably going to need to look at and work out for yourselves as you decide on the genres that you're going to do. You need to know who your audience is. Young, old, you know, what are they interested in and why are you doing this genre? Identify your content sweet spot, like what's going to make it really unique for these people and interesting. And we're not asking you to reinvent the wheel. This is also an exercise and a competition. So we want you to be fabulously creative. But there are a million genres or subgenres of reality out there which you can use. You need to visualize the end result. There's absolutely no point in going into something without knowing what you want. You've got to think it through. What do you want to see on screen? Right? If you don't know what you want to see on screen finally, you're never going to know how to put the stuff together. Reality is unscripted, but it takes an incredible amount of planning. Doesn't mean that you don't have to plan. And the most creative, best results are going to be the ones where you've thought it through from the beginning. I want it to look like this. I want my show to be like Creme Cartel. So I'm going to need these kind of people, these kind of situations, these kind of setups, that kind of idea. And those are your building blocks. And then you need to test it out. I would advise that you do a trial before you actually shoot. But we'll get there in a moment. So let's look at the subgenres, and I want your participation, please. I don't want to talk anymore. So I thought I'd flash this one up because it's not the kind I don't believe that we're going to be doing at all, but it is a subgenre of reality, game shows and competition reality. I mean, I suppose you could do it, but it's unlikely in 5 to 10 minutes that you're going to get anywhere near doing a Survivor. But you might want to do one scene from Survivor. Social experience, hidden camera. Can somebody give an example of shows like this? Right. Big Brother. What else? Can't hear? Candid camera. Right. Sorry? I can't hear you guys. Right. Okay, cool. Culture shock, good. The Bachelor, good. You're putting them in a situation and seeing how they react. Right, exactly. Can you think of an example of how somebody tried to do it and it didn't work? Nontle goes to Hollywood. Okay, did anybody see that show? Yeah. And why didn't it work? Over there? Quiet, please. It was boring. And do you have an idea of what you could have done to make it not boring? With class?
Well, I think what didn't work for me was the fact that the scripting was not on point for me. She would just go with the camera, just wander around and see what happens. There weren't events that she would.
Okay. Okay, so am I right? Would I be right in saying that the filmmakers were relying too much on what might occur as opposed to planning something so that they've got substance and content? Okay, good.
Yeah, I was going to say that I also thought that the show was boring because they didn't have like her in different situations, you know. And like the other one was saying that because she was acting too much Hollywood, you know, we're South Africans, you know. So I mean, we see one of us, and it's like we need to relate. And then when we see Kardashians, because they're from that side, we're looking at what their lives is like. But that, I don't know if I'm making sense.
Sure, so there was less empathy for you as a viewer because it seemed like it was imitating something and it wasn't real for you, so you couldn't attach to it as a South African. Okay, anybody else?
I think the Jersey Moving the City was quite an entertaining reality show.
Jersey Moving the City. Anybody seen that? Why was it interesting? Quiet, please.
The life of celebrities, you know, like, I don't know how to explain it. You know, like how there was one episode where one guy just comes to the studio saying he wants to record, and it's just interesting knowing how the celebrity actually deal with everyday issues. You never know that that happens to them, you know.
Does everybody know the show? It's the one with the musicians, right? Yeah. It's boring. Why is it boring?
When you have a scripted reality show, like you can see that everything was planned. Like there was a time when they threw a bottle and Ishmael was chilling.
Right, I remember that. Yeah. Okay. So that felt to you a bit like it was contrived, scripted. Right.
And you say this, there's circumstances that, and you say that, then you move away from there, and that's reality.
So as a viewer, you felt like the director was standing there saying, you throw that bottle, then you do this. Okay. So it felt directed, contrived, not real? Not real. Okay. Okay. Self-improvement, makeover, renovation. So I put this up here obviously because, I mean, I don't know if you guys are interested in this at all, but it does take some skill. You know, you need to, obviously you need to plan. Let's talk about the easiest stuff first because it's physical. The makeover and renovation. Room, house. Okay, I don't know if we're in that league, but I don't know if you know the Curious Picture Show mini makeovers. Yeah, it's a Restyle My Style, sorry. Okay, so it is possible to do something like this, I think. Self-improvement obviously is when you know, somebody is changing in some way, and we can talk about hair, makeup, Style Me Famous, any other shows that you know, that you've seen that are interesting and different. Self-improvement. Yes?
I'm not sure what you call it. I think it's 10 years younger or something.
10 years younger, right?
I think, I don't know, one of them has like somebody is under like surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other one doesn't do good under surgery, so they compare the not necessarily, but the other one has completely surgery, the other one doesn't.
And what was the purpose of the show for you?
For me, well, I thought it was interesting to see how you don't always have to go under the line.
Mm.
Just whatever that I'm doing.
Okay, you don't always have to go have surgery to look better. Okay, cool. Good. I'm glad you touched on that because one of the things we'll come to now, I wanted to point out was it's important for you guys to have a viewer proposition. Remember I said you need to know your audience, you need to know your target market, but you also need to have a proposition. This is a thing, it's a guiding principle, right? I want to, my viewer must, you know, you must have a sense of what the viewer is going to take home. And it must be, it's like a tagline, it's one sentence. So in that case it might be, is plastic surgery really the way to go to make you look 10 years younger? Okay. Yeah? Anything else? Sorry, at the back? Right, MTV Made. Excellent, good. Everybody know that show? Yes, of course you do. Dance Your Butt Off, but Biggest Loser, right. Good, Biggest Loser definitely, which is combined with competition, obviously. Okay, good. We also do, at Ochre, do a lot of self-improvement stuff. So I just did a show called In Debt, which, I don't know if you know that show. So I just recently also had the privilege of going to Australia to present the show at a conference where they were talking about behavior change television, and it's in the space of public broadcast TV. And so it's not common because public broadcast, which is not commercial, is under considerable threat in the world at the moment because reality formats and competition formats have taken over because they earn big money, right? So they were really fascinated that we had taken something which is kind of commercial in a way and used it for the public good. And that is a self-improvement program. We take people who are really indebted, badly indebted, have bad personal debt problems, and we help them through a sort of 6-week program of recovery where they change their behavior and end up with less debt than they started. And sometimes really after a year or so they'll have completely recovered. So that's another example where, you know, you've got self-improvement, but it's not necessarily physical. It's more sort of emotional or financial or, yeah? Good. Any other points to be made about this? Yeah? Super size versus super skinny. Right.
So the main point of this show is for the obese person to lose weight and the anorexic person to gain weight.
Right. So
their diets are monitored by the nutritionist.
So cross-social experiment and self-improvement. Nice. And then I threw this one in because they were around. The most obvious example is a drama called The Office, which is spoofing reality, but it's scripted. So it's difficult to tell actually when you watch it because the people making it are so talented, super talented, you know, what was scripted and what wasn't scripted. Maybe there's a hell of a lot of improvisation on set. Maybe there isn't. But I threw it in here because, you know, that's something, if you're interested in the genre of comedy, you might want to hook up with some comedians who are really good at improvising, because that way you're going to get, you know, your reality flow easier. And they've also got a high performance capability. Something really to look out for. You know, when you cast people for your reality, you really want to, you can't use sort of dumbass people who don't know what they're doing. You know, you really have to be very judicious. Like, are these people good performers? Can they, you know, engage? Are they naturally effervescent? Do they come across on camera as, you know, exciting? Because otherwise it's going to be a bit dead, right? At the back?
Wouldn't the office be satirical documentary instead of
Definitely. It would definitely be.
I would say something like Count or Disaster Date.
Good. Do you all know those shows? Yeah. Disaster Date, Punked. Yeah. And then the last one is the most obvious of the lot, which is really, you know, concentrating, using the origins of it in documentary. So there's millions of these around. So I probably don't need to go through them. But they really are the kinds of reality shows that, you know, rely heavily on the informational exploration. You know, we talk about celebrity shows, day in the life shows, Undercover Boss. I mean, you guys know them, they're everywhere. Anybody else got something to say? Questions?
So it's good reality scripted.
What do you think? Well, if we go by some of the answers that and reflections that we've already encountered, I think that, you know, it is probably a mix 50-50. In my view, you know, you've got to be on your toes. So the other thing about reality is that you have to mediate your expectations because often you don't end up with what you thought you might have. So it is a tricky one, but I think that the best reality shows are always the ones that have been thought through solidly from beginning to end and tried, you know. So that's why I say, you know, it's a bit like, you know, if you're going to write a comedy series, how do you know that these people are actually going to be funny? How do you know if the script's going to work unless you do a tryout? You know, you can't really work these things to full capacity if you don't really know. So my advice again would be to try it out. Test out the people, test out the idea, you know, yeah.
I want to ask you a question. Does it also go with culture? Because after speaking to some guys, we came to some conclusion that, I mean, with Americans, they have this thing of pride and competition, you know? Unlike us, South Africans, when we say, if you get survivor, we're too much about togetherness, we go to whatever, you know? But if you look at Americans, man, they're all about, I'm an individual, I need to win this, and I'll do anything it takes to win this competition. And
Okay.
Just to deal with culture as well, in terms of how people perceive what reality is.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay. So are you saying that you, if I can reframe it, are you saying that you are slightly cautious about going for the kind of reality where people have got to put themselves out there as individuals, fiercely competitive, because you think it might run against the cultural precedents and the... Okay, interesting. Anybody got an answer for that? Hello? What about our experts over there? Gillian.
I think the most successful reality shows do tap into a zeitgeist, a way that society is feeling at any given time.
So I think Pop Idol's hit at exactly the right time because it plays into the idea of the American dream. That you can come from anywhere as long as you're talented, you can succeed. Something like Secret Millionaire in the UK, I think it's incredibly successful because crossing class lines are rigid. It transgresses, it's a taboo. It plays into a very British sensibility. We can watch it because we also have the same economic lines and class lines. But I think the most successful realities mirror what society's thinking. So they do come from a very specific, very cultural place. And it's not necessarily a kind of rigid culture, it's more about what society's feeling at any given time. So at the moment, weight loss shows huge because people have become more aware of their health, more aware of weight, more aware of kind of extending life, being healthy, that kind of thing. So weight loss shows have exploded. I mean, you've got from kids to adults all trying to lose weight, be healthy, that kind of thing.
I think you've got to be cautious, and I think you're right. I think some things, you know, especially in taboo areas like sex, gender, expression, yeah. But again, you know, reality TV sometimes is about spectacle. It's about uncovering the stuff that no one really wants to talk about or see on camera, and that's what makes it interesting and exciting because it elevates the minutiae. The mundane, the everyday, the stuff that we struggle with, like, I don't know, you know, you brush your teeth too hard and your gums are like, well, that's a reality moment when somebody talks about how sore their gums are, and like, what, you know, what the hell are you talking about this for? It's so boring. But actually it's not boring because all of us struggle with these struggles every day of our lives. I was just tasked with telling you what I know about reality. So we'll leave it at that, shall we? Thank you.